Welcome to Real Life Mentoring, where we explore real life issues to help you make an authentic difference in the world.
Hi, it's Chris and Christina back with Real Life Mentoring Podcast. We have a special guest today. As you know, we take a holistic approach to the whole person. And so, Chris, why don't you introduce our special guest?
Well, it's Dr. Brent DeLong with, correct me here, MaxLiving.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Brent, I think I met you about 6 years ago. I came in for a treatment, and the first thing I noticed on your wall in your office was that you took the holistic approach.
Mm-hmm.
And so I care about the same thing, and so I knew that I wanted to see you as a chiropractor, knowing that you were going to teach me some things I needed to know that I would not have known just coming to a chiropractor for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So
we're just going to let you introduce yourself
to
the listener. What do you want them to know about you?
Well, again, my name is Dr. Brent DeLong. I've been a chiropractor in Norman, Oklahoma for, about 15 years. It's been an incredible journey. I'm not originally from here, and Norman has been just an incredible place to live and raise a family.
Mm-hmm.
So, me and my wife founded DeLong Family Chiropractic, and we are a MaxLiving Health Center, and we've been a MaxLiving Health Center ever since we opened up, and we've been able to serve our community and help thousands and thousands of patients. And we've been so blessed in this community to be able to help and serve so many people.
So I met you probably longer than that. I had a bad back, and I just came to you when you were in the tiny little office. And so now, obviously, the listener can't see. You've got a beautiful office. Your business has expanded, and so you're really serving our community really well. Okay, where are you from?
I'm originally from Iowa.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tiny little town, southern Iowa, right on I-35. I-35 cuts right through my family farm.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're glad you ended up in Oklahoma.
Me too. Yes, I love it here.
So, what intrigued me about you is the holistic approach you take.
Mm-hmm.
So as a mentoring organization, we focus on 6 areas, the holistic approach, we'd say. So we are spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, relational, and professional and or educational. They all impact one another. Mm-hmm. They all influence one another, and each one is important. So that's the biggest reason I wanted to connect with you as a chiropractor.
Yeah.
So tell the listeners what MaxLiving focuses on.
So MaxLiving is like a healthcare delivery system, and it's based off of the 5 essentials of health. So essential number 1 is it's more about function, and this is where chiropractic plays such a major role. Our body is created to be self-healing and self-organizing, and your nerve system is just the master control center that controls and regulates every physiological function, and your spine is what surrounds and protects that spinal cord, and any misalignments can interfere with your body's ability to communicate and self-regulate and to regenerate, and so misalignments can lead to dysfunction, which can obviously lead to disease. So that's essential number 1. Essential number 2 is nutrition. Obviously, we are what we eat, and any kind of deficiency in nutrition can lead to, again, dysfunction, which can lead to disease process. Essential number 3 is mindset, which actually used to be essential number 1. I would say the real main purpose of a chiropractor is to help teach someone how to take care of themselves. Doctor means teacher. Mm-hmm. And so a really good chiropractor is going to help inform a patient how to live the chiropractic lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And so understanding what health is, that our body's self-healing. Medications may treat symptoms, but it definitely doesn't add health. Mm-hmm. And so looking for cause. Essential number 3 is oxygen through lean muscle, so exercise, movement. We have a genetic requirement to move, and if you don't move, you're not oxygenating the cells or detoxing the body, so that's critical. And then essential number 5 is minimizing toxins. Obviously, toxins can create dysfunction, which lead to disease. An oversimplification, but there's really 2 main causes of disease: is toxicity and deficiency. Mm-hmm. And so every single health category under the sun falls under one of those 5 essentials. And so by helping people live those 5 essentials, they will be able to create more health. And healthy people don't need drugs.
Yeah. Okay, you're growing up in Iowa, and do you wake up one day and go, I think I want to be a chiropractor? How did you get here?
How did I get here?
Yeah.
Interesting story. I hurt my back pretty bad. I was playing college football, was lifting weights, was doing squats, and it literally felt like my back exploded when I was doing a squat. I kind of toughed it out for quite a while, but it got so bad that it was hard to put my socks on in the morning. I had really pretty serious sciatica. I felt like when I was sitting in class, my whole spine was sitting on a deflated water balloon. And it really affected performance, and just obviously if you've ever had bad back pain and sciatic, it really just like takes over everything. Like it's hard to move, it's hard to think about things when it's hard to move or walk or the pain. And so, of course, originally I went through the medical system. You know, my parents found out how bad I was really hurting. We went to the medical doctor, did the scans, x-rays, MRIs. 50% of my L5 disc was blocking my spinal cord, which was putting pressure on the sciatic nerve. So we ended up going to the medical doctor after the MRIs, and you know, basically the medical doctor told me that if I don't do surgery, that I'm going to lose control of my bowel and bladder.
Wow.
At what age?
19 years old.
Oh, wow.
And here I am like, no, doc, the pain's in my back. Like
Right.
this other stuff is fine.
Yeah.
And he said, well, look, here's a nerve chart, the sciatic nerve that goes down the leg. That nerve system also controls organ function. And this is where the first time I really started to understand like how the nerve system plays a major role on how your body works. And so he wanted to do surgery. Before that, we did an injection, and so he put a foot-long needle into my low back and injected me with this, you know, steroid compound, and it did kind of make the pain go away. In fact, for the next week, I thought I was fine, thought I was gonna be able to play like my senior year of football, and of course the pain wore off, and the medication wore off, and so the pain came back, and it was even worse.
Wow.
Because the pain didn't get rid of the damage, but I couldn't feel it, and the pain is there to kind of tell you, hey, there's something wrong, like, and it holds you back from making it worse. So with the pain being gone, I was doing things that I thought I could do again, and it compounded. So when
That
the pain
you should not have been doing.
Yeah, of course, because the pain's, you know, signaling the body like, hey, like there's something wrong. So instead of, you know, getting to the cause, I was just covering up. So I felt good. Week went by, pain meds wore off. It was worse, and that's when they were like, hey, like we're probably gonna have to do, you know, some sort of kind of surgery. And I thought to myself, like, what does someone's life look like at 19 having spinal surgery, especially someone whose entire life was based off of athleticism and sports and activity, and so really lucky, but my high school football coach was a chiropractor.
Oh.
And he said, hey, before you do surgery, let me show you something. And so I started seeing him. I went through this corrective protocol. I started getting adjusted. I was doing all this spinal rehab to strengthen and stabilize the adjustments. And over the course of several months, like all the issues were gone. I ended up not being able to play my senior year of football, which was heartbreaking. But it really changed my mindset. And, you know, one day my mom was actually like, hey, you should think about being a chiropractor. And I was like, oh, yes, this is going to be awesome. And so I just went to school knowing very little about what chiropractic really was. I thought I was just going to work with athletes and back issues. Getting into chiropractic, sitting through some lectures, going to some guest speakers, I was blown away at what chiropractic was created for and what it really could help with. And that's what led me to MaxLiving. And I was going through all the MaxLiving, you know, student program in school. And after graduation, I went through a MaxLiving training protocol. So I went to an office in Charlotte for 4 months, went to an office outside of Chicago for 10 months to be able to build this kind of clinic. And, you know, from there, it's just history.
Had you not had that coach who was,
Wow.
sounds like intentional and assertive with you, would you have been able to take the initiative on your own in that area?
I, to be real honest, this is like such an extreme opposite. I was really into the sciences, and I actually was very much considered being a pharmaceutical sales rep because I'm good with people. I love science. And, you know, I grew up in a very medical background. Like my family's very like medically leaning.
Okay.
And, you know, I heard they could make some money and that they, you know, got to talk to people and, you know, help what I thought help people was.
Right.
But yeah, it just such a 180 to go in the complete opposite way. So, no, I think that was actually divine intervention.
Okay.
Like, for sure. I mean, God made some pretty big moves. You know, it was unfortunate to suffer through the pain, but, you know, it gives me a lot of empathy with patients that are hurting because I know exactly what they're going through.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the things, because of our experience, but you mentioned it wakes up the organs. What are things that probably people are not aware of that chiropractic care does?
Well, what's really interesting in going into some of the history, because most people associate chiropractic with back pain because we worked on the spine, but the very first adjustment actually restored someone's hearing.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
The very first adjustment. We'll work on you later. Really kind of an interesting story. So there was this, I think he started as a magnetic healer. He had I believe he had an organic grocery shop in Davenport, Iowa, this person named D.D. Palmer. And he had this janitor in his building who was sharing the story about being in this bent, stooped position and felt like this pop in his neck, and he became deaf out of this ear. And so I think it was like 16 years, he was suffering from hearing issues. And so he was sharing the story with D.D. Palmer, who had this kind of background in, natural healing, and was like, I don't know, let me look at you. And so he kind of analyzed his spine, saw some sort of misalignment, and somehow crudely, corrected that misalignment with some kind of adjustment. And instantly his hearing came back. And, story goes, he could hear the horses outside of the building.
Wow.
And so he thought he found the cure for deafness.
Yeah.
And so all these people came to him that had deafness, and he was analyzing spines, trying to correct different misalignments. And the story goes, he didn't really help a lot of other people that had deafness, but what he noticed by correcting misalignments is all these other issues would start to improve. Mm-hmm. Headaches, neck issues, back issues, digestive dysfunction, inflammatory arthritic issues, like all these crazy things. Mm-hmm. And so he is known as the discoverer of chiropractic, and his son BJ Palmer is the developer of chiropractic. And so he took that and really put a ton of the science and research into understanding the spine and the nerve system and the organizer of function. And so that's what really created what we know today as far as chiropractic. Mm-hmm. And up until like the 40s, 50s, and 60s, chiropractic was really more known to help with infectious disease than it was back pain. In fact, the reason chiropractors have doctor status is because the influence the adjustment had on the 1918 flu epidemic.
Really?
Wow.
And there's some incredible research on the impact of adjustments and immune function. Like every time you get adjusted, it boosts your immune system about 48%. And so when you get an adjustment, you get what's called a respiratory burst effect, and it stimulates your interleukin-2, which activates your CD4 killer cells. And so you get this immediate white blood cell increase when you get adjusted. Bigger studies show that when people are regularly adjusted, that their immune system is somewhere between 200 and 400% more comparable than other healthy adults.
Wow.
Okay, this makes sense. I'd forgotten you guys had told me this because I'm one of your patients. And a few weeks ago, I was supposed to come in, and I didn't feel well that morning, so I sent a message, I can't come in, I'm not feeling well. And I received, you know what message I received back? What'd they tell me?
They say, get your butt in here.
Yeah, you should be. That's why you should be in here,
Yeah.
because it will help activate the immune system.
Yep.
And I said, I knew that, but I forgot about that. It just still didn't register for me, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
And one of the things, what do you say after you adjust me and every other patient?
Power is on.
Power's on. Explain that.
So when you get an adjustment, the purpose of an adjustment is to remove interference to your body's natural ability to self-regulate through the nerve system. So it's basically clearing interference in the communication system. So when you get adjusted, it just activates your body's ability to start healing. And so we just, say the power is on because literally we are removing interference. You guys will really love this. I bet I've shared this with you before.
Okay.
So an adjustment is the only non-therapeutic healing art, meaning that an adjustment doesn't treat anything. Mm-hmm. So an adjustment doesn't treat a headache. An adjustment doesn't treat a neck pain or a back pain or inflammatory arthritic issues or whatever. An adjustment removes interference, and that interference in chiropractic is called a subluxation. And a subluxation, if you break down that word, so sub means less than,
Okay.
shun means a condition, and then lux, like fiat lux, divine light. So a subluxation means a condition of less than divine light.
I love
And so
that.
when
Wow.
you get adjusted, it's removing that interference to let that power that God placed inside the body to communicate, to control, to reorganize, and to restore function. So, you can't fight the darkness. You can only light a candle.
Wow.
You don't fight disease. You rebuild health. And that is the fundamental difference between medicine, like philosophically medicine, and chiropractic. Medicine is the study of disease and what causes man to die. Chiropractic is the study of health and what causes man to live.
Yeah.
And what I appreciate about your practice with MaxLiving is that you adjust me, and you don't say, now, Chris, go live your life however you want to. Look at every area.
Right.
What are you doing with those things? And what you've done early on with us, you gave us a packet of home exercises to do. I'm good about it sometimes, and sometimes I'm not. And so, honestly, I'm a very proactive guy, but I go, how foolish of me to think I come in and get an adjustment, would you call it something else, or is that,
An adjustment.
And then I'm good to go for the next few weeks, as opposed to, no, let me go home and actually use these exercises to help continue the healing process.
To hold the adjustment, to support that correction. There's a lot of really good chiropractic out there. One of the things I like about MaxLiving specifically is it's what you would consider a corrective protocol or corrective chiropractic care. Now, we have a huge pediatric practice in our office. We're one of the largest pediatric clinics in the state. Mm-hmm. So we see a lot of pregnancy, a lot of babies, which people, if I had one wish, it would be that more people understand the benefits of adjusting kiddos and babies. It's just so incredible. They heal so quickly. But, we want to start correcting structure to support, so the rehab exercises, it supports the correction. So instead of short-term symptom relief with an adjustment, because even just a kind of a regular manipulation that you could get at like a physical therapy clinic or a DO would manipulate you maybe. You might feel better for a little while, but if we're not correcting the structure, the spine's still weak, and so you'll just misalign or you'll resubluxate. So the rehab exercises are really there to help support that adjustment and support correction, because the stronger and more stable the spine is, the more stress you can handle. So, the more you're going to be able to hold and maintain that alignment. Because an adjustment doesn't heal us. Mm-hmm. It's maintaining the correction that allows the body to heal itself.
Say that again for the listeners.
Yeah,
an adjustment doesn't heal us. Mm-hmm. Like, there's nothing I'm doing to a patient that heals them. Mm-hmm. We pray over patients, and we pray for divine divine healing. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's the body that heals itself. So an adjustment doesn't heal us.
Okay.
It's maintaining the correction that allows the body to heal itself.
Mm-hmm.
No, well said. And I want the listeners to understand this. Well, for instance, I've taken care of myself physically for many years. I go to the gym on a regular basis, and I'm pretty fit for my age. However, coming to you showed me this. You can look fit on the outside and not be in the best shape with your spine and your neck especially. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. So the biggest mistake that people have when it comes to health, and this is very much medical dogma, is that health is about how you feel, which is really dangerous, because the major disease process is you don't feel. Like, what does heart disease feel like when it builds? I just had someone tell me the other day that one of their family members got checked out, had very little symptoms, even went to the urgent care, got checked out, said they were fine, went home, still felt bad, ended up going to the ER, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're having a heart attack. Had like 100% blockage.
Okay.
But like the day before, week, month, year before, they felt completely fine. Mm-hmm. But obviously their body was building significant disease. When my mom got diagnosed with cancer, end stage 4 cancer, literally the oncologist gave her the weekend to live. Wow. If she didn't do the chemo that day.
Okay.
And a couple months before, she really felt pretty fine.
Did she really?
Yeah. So if you base your health off of how you feel, it's very dangerous. 96% of pre-diabetics have no idea they're diabetic. My mom's best friend went into like a diabetic coma, had no idea she was diabetic. Thank God there was somebody there who kind of saw like, oh my gosh, this doesn't look right, called the ambulance and saved her life. But health is not about how you feel, and it's not about how you look. Like you said, like someone can look really good, and we have lots of examples of this. People look good and yet still get diagnosed with very devastating disease labels. So health is not about how you look, it's not about how you feel. Now, I would say that MaxLiving definitely promotes good nutrition and exercise, and those are things that support health.
Right.
They're very important. They support health, but they don't control health, because you could eat all organic and exercise and still get cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So health is not about how you look or feel. It is about how your body heals. It is about how your body self-regulates. That's what health is. So we talk about that chart you were looking at. Health is about function. Mm-hmm. So if you go to the cardiologist and they're looking at your heart, they're going to give you a stress test. They're looking about how your heart adapts to stress. How is it functioning?
Okay.
So your nerve system is what controls the function. And if there's interference, you'll have dysfunction, which could lead to disease. And obviously, if you have dysfunction, you're way more susceptible to like lifestyle issues. Mm-hmm. Because, on the very flip side of it, you kind of all recognize and seen someone who like does it wrong lifestyle-wise and yet lives until their 90s.
Right.
Like, how can they do everything wrong and live without disease versus someone can live so right and yet still get disease? Mm-hmm. And so the difference is their body's ability to heal, their body's ability to adapt to the stress of whatever that is doing and continue to create normal healthy cells, normal healthy function. So health is defined by your body's ability to heal and to self-regulate and to function. So I share this explanation in a lot of seminars. So if this room got lit on fire and we're all stressed out, where does our blood pressure go? Mm-hmm. It goes up. Now, is that good or bad? because you think about high blood pressure being bad, but it's a really good, intelligent response.
Okay.
Because you're pushing blood to the muscles so that you can kick the door down and get out of Dodge. But once you're out of the fire, where should the blood pressure go?
Yeah, it should go back.
It should go back down. That's normal self-regulation. That's normal physiology. That's adaptation.
Okay.
That's your body self-regulating. And that is, again, controlled through your nerve system. But if the blood pressure all of a sudden starts to stay high, well, medical doctors will label you as hypertension, and then they'll try to give you a drug to force it down. Now, sometimes a medication might be necessary so you don't stroke out, but they're never looking to the why. Why is the blood pressure high? My father-in-law was having some pretty serious health issues, and his blood pressure was like through the roof, and he was getting these terrible migraines. And so the cardiologist would put him on all these blood pressure medications, and it would force his blood pressure down. Well, his kidney was dying. And so the cardiologist or the nephrologist was like, hey, your kidney's dying and it's releasing hormones to tell your body to push blood to it. So his kidney was forcing the blood pressure up so the kidney could try to get blood to live. But the cardiologist and the nephrologist weren't on the same page. And obviously he was having these terrible migraines and really high elevated blood pressure. So he was at risk of stroking out. And so they were never really trying to help with the kidney function. And basically his kidney died because the blood pressure wasn't getting there.
Okay.
And technically the cardiologist even admitted that taking the baby aspirin a day is what ended up killing his kidney.
Wow.
Because it's a chemical,
Yeah.
and obviously any chemical is going to cause damage. The thing that people think about, especially with like baby aspirin, is they almost think of it like a supplement.
Okay.
I'm just going to take this. It's a tiny thing. Everybody takes them. Medical doctor said to take it. But at the end of the day, it's a chemical, and you cannot poison the body into health. That is a fundamental rule, that you cannot poison the body into health. So yes, medications might treat a symptom, and it might help you feel better, for sure. And there are situations where you might need to be on that short term. But you can never create health by poisoning the body. It does not work like that.
Okay.
I'm going to get this term wrong. What do you call the spine? You say the something of life?
So in your neck, so when you look at the spine,
The arc of
structurally-
life.
Yeah, that's
I
exactly.
saw that on the wall earlier.
Right.
So when you look at the spine, so from the front to back, it should be straight. If it's all curved from the front to back, that's scoliosis, right? And scoliosis is a pretty devastating event. On average, it shortens someone's life expectancy between 14 and 20 years.
Wow.
And they don't die from neck or back pain. They die from organ dysfunction because the interference in the nerve system is going to be affected to organ function, especially if it's a very severe case. And that's why they would do surgery to straighten that up. Not because they look crooked, it's because the impact on the nerve system. So from the front, it has to be straight. From the side, though, you have to have those curves. So if you can imagine the spine from the side, has those proper curves. And there's very specific alignments that should be in. That specifically, that curve in the neck should be around 45 degrees. And when you have that proper curve in your neck, there's no stress on the spinal cord, and that's what allows that life energy to flow from the brain, through the brainstem, through the spinal cord, to the organs. One of the major issues that we see in today's world with the misalignments are when you start to lose that curve in your neck, and you see people walking around with this forward head posture.
Yes.
So if that head goes forward, that neck goes straight. And if you lose the curve in your neck, it can stretch the spinal cord. So not just like a pinched nerve, it stretches the spinal cord. And when you have a stretching of the tissue, it creates basically it's what's called pathological tension.
Okay.
And that can create thinning of the cord. So with patients, I have them like put a 45-degree curve in your hand. You can see how nice and loose the skin is. If you lose the curve, it stretches. If you lose the curve in your neck, that's what's happening to the spinal cord. And if it thins, it can create what's called demyelination. So if someone thinks of a demyelinating disease, they typically think of stuff like MS. Now that's in the brain, so that's the demyelination in the brain, and it affects body function, right?
Right.
If that happens in your neck, it can create demyelination in the spinal cord, which again will interfere with the body's ability to communicate. It's like taking a wire gauge, and if it's a nice thick wire, lots of energy can flow through it. The thinner the gauge, the less energy flows through.
So all the organs are being impacted.
Every organ could potentially be impacted by
Okay.
that loss of curvature in your neck.
Okay.
You think about Christopher Reeves. So I don't know what the age group of your patients are.
He was Superman many years ago.
Yeah. So I actually used to have this in my video. So in a second visit, when we go through X-rays, I have patients watch a video to help them understand about what we're looking at with their X-rays. And I used to use the Superman example. I've taken that out now
because nobody knows.
See, the younger generations have no idea who this is. But basically, he got bucked off that horse, landed on his like neck, chin area. It broke the second bone, shifted it just a few millimeters, and it bruised his brainstem. And they say you could cover up the bruise with the size of your pinky, so it was not very big.
Wow.
But it was enough damage to influence the brain's ability to communicate to the body. So he became paralyzed. But it wasn't just he lost function of arms and legs; he lost function of organs. You know, they had to put a pacemaker in because the heart wasn't beating on the own. They had to have a ventilator because the lungs were not working on their own. You know, the nurse had to massage the colon, so he would go to the bathroom in a bag. So all the organs shut down. In fact, when you looked at, so he got injured and passed away about 9 years after the injury, I believe.
Yeah.
But his body had aged 40 years
Wow.
in that 9-year span because the disconnect between the brain's ability to control, self-regulate, and regenerate organs, tissues, and cells.
Wow.
So now the neck is such a big deal because if he would have broke his back, then he would have been much better off because then it would have just been affected organs below that injury, but it was at the very top. So misalignments in the spine, they have a priority, in my opinion. The higher up on the spine, the more it can influence. So if someone comes in with, like, say, back pain, I'm definitely analyzing their entire spine.
Okay.
Because there could be a misalignment that they don't recognize a symptom. So I had a neurosurgeon as a patient really early on. I love to share the story because when he came in, he was a retired, neurosurgeon, and his golf game was getting affected. And so he was like, let me go see this young chiropractor. Let's see if he can help my back in my golf game. So he comes in, and I do his scans and x-rays, and I'm evaluating. And there's definitely some degeneration and some issues in his lower back that was causing him some problems. But when I looked at his neck x-ray, it was bad. It was not just straight, it was actually reversed. And he had a bunch of arthritic degeneration in there. And he definitely had forward head posture.
Okay.
But when we were going through his x-rays, I'm like, man, you didn't tell me about how bad your neck was hurting. Like, this is worse than your back. And he was like, well, I don't have any pain in my neck. And I'm like, but look at your x-ray. Like, it is rough. So he spent years and years and years in, forward head posture, doing surgery, for hours and hours at a time. And so he was the one who kind of showed me the hand and the stretching of the neck and talking about so he was kind of educating me on the neurology in the neck there, and I thought it was really interesting. But what he said was that only 5% of your nerve system relays pain or sensation. Only 5%. He's like, you can take out 95% of my nerve system, light it on fire, and I'm not going to feel any of it. That's why people can't feel disease building. And so someone can go see him and have like this, late stage disease process, and he's like, Doc, I feel fine. He's like, I care less about how you feel.
Yeah.
Your body is very sick. It is not functioning. There's disease, and then he was going to treat it through his training. And so to this day, he's probably one of the best corrective testimonies because he understood the seriousness of his arc of life, and he put a tremendous amount of time and energy into correcting his spine. And it's just a really interesting story that I use to help patients understand, like, health is, again, it's not about how you feel, it's about how your body's functioning. And if there's any kind of interference in your nerve system due to some sort of spinal misalignment, that needs to be adjusted whether you feel it or not, because it could be affecting organ function. And, we don't feel organ function until end stage if we're lucky. So let's get to work. Let's correct that before it turns into a dysfunction or disease. Or if there is disease, let's try to correct it and give the body the best opportunity to start healing or self-regulating from whatever that dysfunction or disease process is. So again, that's why chiropractic is a non-therapeutic healing art. It doesn't treat anything. I can't tell you how many patients come in with one symptom, neck pain, back pain, we start getting them adjusted, and they notice all these other changes. They're sleeping better, their digestion's improving, their mental clarity is improving, their energy levels are improving, simply because that subluxation that I was adjusting or we were correcting, was influencing that aspect of their physiology. Whether there was a symptom there or not, we're correcting it because our chiropractor, our job is to correct the misalignment, not just treat a symptom. Now, yes, I do hope that all my patients feel better,
right,
and I'm going to do everything I can to help them feel better with whatever that main thing is, but we are correcting subluxations so that the body has the best opportunity to heal, whether that's a disc or a muscle spasm or a pinched nerve or it's an organ dysfunction.
I love this. One of the things I've been sitting here thinking, the listener knows that we take a biblical approach. We believe that God put us here on earth for a purpose. He has a mission for us to accomplish. I'm going to be a better steward of God's plan for my life when I take a holistic approach and be a good steward of my body. And chiropractic care is a holistic way to do that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We all have purposes.
Yeah.
What's the saying that the two best days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why.
Yeah.
So how you feel, whether it's your energy levels or if there's an actual symptom like a headache or a back issue, like, it's hard to fulfill your purpose if you are suffering.
Right.
Think about, how do you love on someone if you have a bad headache? How do you fulfill whatever like, my pastor can't build a kingdom if he's suffering from migraines or his back hurts and it's hard for him to get around. You know, it's hard to care and think about others and have empathy when you're personally suffering.
Ongoing pain really can impact in a negative way relationships.
Absolutely.
It sounds maybe silly to some, but it does. So, it's, with your injury at the age of 19 and what you went through, could you see where people get addicted to painkillers?
Oh, absolutely. Nobody wants to feel bad.
Yeah.
You know, it's very easy to reach for a medication because sometimes you just got to get through the day. You know, I got to do this and like, I got a headache. Let me just pop a cup of Tylenol and I know the headache is going to go away. You know, and sometimes short term, that's fine. I mean, the body can handle some toxicity. It's the chronic use that can get real bad. You know, the number one cause of acute liver failure is Tylenol use. In fact, don't fact check me on this, but I believe I've heard the stat that, NSAIDs are the 15th leading cause of death in the U.S. Wow. Again, look at my father-in-law, right? So, yeah, I mean, people, who don't feel good, they want to feel better. And we're just trained in our, life that you just go, if you don't feel good, you go to the doctor and they're going to give you something and you're going to feel better. And that's what you're looking for, is to feel better. And it's very easy to just do the quick. Everybody wants quick results, and it's definitely more work to build health, to take care of yourself. It's significantly more work to go to the gym or to eat good, but yeah, it's very easy for people to go down that medical route. And it's a slippery slope too, because once you get in there and you get one thing, then they're going to find something else maybe, and they're going to want to treat that, or that, that medication creates that side effect. And then, that's how people get on, the average American is on 12 different medications.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, because I'm on 0, which means that somebody else is on like 24.
Right.
Okay.
I saw this stat here recently. I believe it's 50% of kids under 12 are on 2 medications, which is crazy. This is the first time in human history where our children's generation is said to have a shorter life experience than us.
Yeah.
I mean, heart disease, cancers, they're crazy on the rise. Type 2 diabetes, crazy on the rise. And it's already bad. Like, so 1 out of 2 men and women die from heart disease. 1 out of 3 women get cancer, 1 out of 2 men get cancer. Cancer is supposed to increase another 75% by 2030. The 70% of Americans suffer from a chronic illness. And we know that most chronic illnesses are lifestyle induced. Right. But it's almost impossible to live a really good, healthy lifestyle in America right now, because the food, like, it's hard to buy healthy food. We used to do this event called Shop with a Doc. I don't know if you ever went to one of those. So we would take a group of patients to the grocery store and we would show them like how to shop, how to read food labels. Right. If I tell people, like, the one way that you could instantly be better at your nutrition choices is just reading and understanding what's in the food. Right. And it's really sometimes disconcerting being around me, especially when it comes to food, because I'm like, yeah, that's going to be bad, or this is bad. And we go through the grocery store and I imagine the frustration in patients, because they're like, oh my gosh, I can't do anything. Like, well, I can't eat anything. Everything is bad. It's really difficult to find really clean, healthy choices. Now, I do think that we have some good stuff moving at the upper echelons in the government to maybe help like clean up some of it, because you look at Fruit Loops, for example. Like when I was young, or when you guys were young, and they had Fruit Loops versus the ingredients in today's Fruit Loops, they are not the same.
Wow. They're not.
No, so I have conversations with my dad like, well, we used to eat this and this and this, and I'm like, yeah, but it's not the same as what's available today. It's just, and in other countries, the same companies have very different ingredients, because those countries will not allow that sort of toxic stuff in our food, but yet it's a free-for-all here, which is really scary. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's so much easier to just take a pill.
Before taping, I was telling you about my sort of health challenge in March. So, and I am not advertising this app, but it's called Bobby Approved. Do you know this app?
What is this?
So it's an app where you can scan a label for a food item, and it'll...
No, go ahead. Sorry.
And it'll tell you if it's approved, and you put like your dietary restrictions.
Yes.
So I went to Natural Foods, picked up the things that I typically buy, and probably more than half were not approved. Yeah. Because things like natural flavors or hidden sugar. Yeah. And so I'm a little crazy, but I take my little app, and because even organic or...
It doesn't mean it's all organic.
It doesn't mean that it's organic or it's good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You just have to be so proactive.
Yeah, so there's several apps that I share, like Think Dirty is another app, Yucca is another app, the EWG, the Environmental Working Group, has an app. I can't think of the one. My wife just got on this new app. Gosh, I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, there's a lot of apps out there that can really help to navigate you through those food choices, and they'll tell you even what's wrong with it and why is it bad.
Right, that's exactly what this does. It'll say, oh, palm oil is in here. This is linked to inflammatory issues.
Yeah.
It's so helpful.
Yeah.
But it's just a tiny little extra step that most of us don't want to take. But doing that, I've gone, oh, okay, well, I'll do this instead.
Well, they don't even know it's available.
Right.
That's what's crazy, too, is like there's some great resources and things we can do. But again, like not everybody is a health expert.
Right.
So they're just trying to do their thing and live their life. And they might be an expert in this other thing, you know, that whatever their job is or their purpose or their mission. But if they're not studying this stuff, how would they know? But that's why like offices like this exist. Because our job is to help patients understand or help people understand how to navigate this stuff, whether it's exercise or minimizing toxins or even good food choices. But some of those apps will even apply to like personal hygiene products.
Yes, this does as well, yeah.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Like aluminum, That is a good segue. We're going to wrap up a little bit, but I love what you say on your website. Discover a life where health issues no longer hold you back and where your body's needs are top priority. Tell people if they're in this area, or MaxLiving is national. Tell us how they can contact you, and then a little bit more about MaxLiving in general.
Okay. So MaxLiving.com. And if you're not local, you can go on there. You can enter in your zip code or address, and it can kind of show you where there are MaxLiving centers near you. It's a pretty easy integration process. You can call the office and say, hey, I'd like an appointment. In that first appointment, you're going to be able to sit down with one of the doctors, talk about some of your health concerns, what are your health goals. They'll do a spinal nerve system evaluation through whether it's posture, range of motion, some orthopedic testing. We do thermal imaging in our clinic, which helps us to identify areas of stress on the nerve system. We're even implementing HRV, which is really exciting. And then you'll get x-rays typically, and that'll kind of show the structural misalignments, the amount of damage, and that really helps the chiropractor put together a plan of action to restore function and really help improve your body's ability to self-regulate and heal. So now here locally, our office is located on Flood, just north of Tecumseh. So there's that brand new Starbucks right there on Flood. So it's just south of Victory Church.
And you're talking Norman, Oklahoma.
In Norman, Oklahoma.
Norman, Oklahoma.
Norman, Oklahoma. Our office number is 405-701-5345. You can find us online, just DeLong Family Chiropractic. We have a huge social media presence. There's a bunch of different ways that you could easily, get a hold of our clinic and ask questions and even get in to see. We also do some kind of interesting stuff. MaxLiving is really moving into metabolic testing, which I really believe is the future of medicine. And kind of like what you went through in your functional doctor that you went to, is they're looking for toxicities and deficiencies, whether it's going through all the gut testing to find out what the microbiome imbalance could be, or if there's other nutrient deficiencies or toxicity. So again, we're addressing root causes of metabolic dysfunction, which would lead to disease process, and be able to fix that through nutrients and food and detoxification pathways, or rebuilding and healing, sealing the gut lining. Like, that's really something I think is just incredibly important, and I think people are looking for that. They want to really people come in all the time saying, hey, I don't want more drugs.
Right.
I don't like the drugs. I don't like the side effects. You watch the commercial, and like most of the commercials about the side effects, like how would you have dry, itchy eyes, like take this, but you might bleed out of your butt.
Yeah.
Like, no thanks, I might just deal with the dry, itchy eyes.
And you're always running on the beach with the dog.
Butterflies are floating and everybody's happy.
It's such a facade.
Yeah. So people are looking for this sort of health journey. So we do a lot of metabolic testing. We do some regenerative therapy through some soft wave technology, which is really incredible. It's been a huge impact on our patients, with degenerative arthritic issues, and whether it's in, extremity joints, knees, elbows, feet, spinal issues. But I think that MaxLiving, it really the goal of MaxLiving is to take over healthcare. We want this to be the primary portal of entry where people go to look and to seek for health.
Right.
We have such an incredible medical system when it comes to crisis care. It is just not a health care.
Right.
If they could just change the terminology, I think that would really help people understand who are seeking health, that they won't go to the medical system, which is great for crisis care. If someone's in a car accident and they're bleeding out of the aorta, like don't come to my clinic, like go to the ER.
Yeah.
If you had a heart attack, go to the ER. They might save your life in that crisis situation, which is incredible. One of the best systems ever created. But then they need to go somewhere that's going to build health. And that's where I think most people want to go, or to start with, is to go to a clinic like this. So in MaxLiving, we have a 2048 vision, and that is to really take over healthcare and to be the primary entry point to where people are leading and learning and living these 5 essentials to really avoid a lot of the crises. So, yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You are not a clinic where you just come to get an adjustment. This is living out these 5 core values and really taking a holistic approach to good health.
Yeah.
Abundant living.
And that's why we care about it and believe in it. And so you might be wondering, why would you interview a chiropractor on a Real Life Mentoring podcast? Because we take the holistic approach, and we want people to be healthy in all areas. And if you're hurting physically, then it's going to affect your mental, your emotional, your relationships, your job. It affects everything. And so one of the things I've learned to do as a mentor is to be a good connector for people. So I've done this before. I'm meeting with a guy, and he's hurting, and I say, I want you to consider going to this chiropractor. And he doesn't have to, but he knows that I care about his overall health. And if that will help him, he will come back later and be very grateful that I gave him a connection. He knows that I actually care about him.
Anything before we wrap up? Any last thought that you just want to get out there?
Well, for all the listeners, you always want to look to cause. You know, I was listening to a podcast just the other day, and some people that I really respect, and they're talking about some medical stuff. And throughout the whole conversation, I would consider them like natural or holistic approach as well, but they still didn't really talk about finding cause. If you have fatigue issues, there's a cause. There's a metabolic dysfunction. If you have low testosterone, this is a big deal here recently. So the stat is men 24 years old have the same testosterone levels as a 70-year-old 50 years ago.
That's bizarre.
Wow.
And there's a lot of reasons to that, and there's the toxicity in food, and it's really screwing with hormones. I mean, anything that's a chemical is an endocrine disruptor. And so you're really affecting a lot of this, and I think that's a big reason we have a lot of other issues with, men aren't men anymore. But you just look for cause. There's going to be a reason why you have a symptom. Your body is so intelligent. It is giving you some sort of indication or warning sign that there's some sort of dysfunction or interference. And the more you seek out interference, the more you will be able to find cause and allow the body to heal itself. Our body is so incredible. It's designed to be healthy. You just have to find the interference and remove that, and your body will do what it's created to do, and that's to thrive.
That takes a lot of pressure off. Yeah, I love that. Chris, any closing thoughts?
No, it's been a great discussion.
Yeah.
Ready for more.
So if you're listening to this and going, oh my word, there's a lot here, check into MaxLiving, go to their website. If you live in the Norman, Oklahoma area, make an appointment. Don't make an appointment if you just want a quick fix. This is a lifestyle change. This is adapting to these 5 core values and really seeking health and not just a quick fix. So as always, we want to thank you for listening. If this is helpful for you, share it with somebody else. If you want to know more about what we do or how you can contribute financially to producing good content like this, like we've done with Dr. Brent today, then go to our website at FahrenheitMentoring.org. There's a donate tab. Just click on that tab. So as always, thank you so much for listening.